Gen 4 Pokemon games have always been loved by the community. They were the first DS games introduced and brought in a new era of Pokemon. Towns got new 2.5D structures, sprites felt alive, and Pokemon could finally walk alongside their trainers. But the biggest upgrade of all? Evolutions. Pokemon that were once weak like Sneasel got powerful new evolutions like Weavile, giving old friends a serious upgrade in design and playability. With over 20 new evolutions in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, Game Freak practically expects you to have at least one of them on your team. I mean, they literally give you one for free. So I'm taking that idea to the extreme. In this video, I'll be taking on Pokémon Platinum using only Pokemon that got a new final evolution in Gen 4. Here are the rules. Every Pokemon I battle with must be a Gen 4 evolution. I have to fully evolve them all before the Elite Four, and try my absolute best not to overlevel. Let's get started. Starting my journey, I find myself alongside my rival Barry, the Professor, and Dawn. I'm offered a starter Pokemon, which we know I can't use, but I choose Piplup anyways, making it so Barry picks Turtwig. This would make for a challenging rival battle down the line, but still a plausible one, and you'll understand when you see what Pokemon I'll be using for the first bit of the game. But unfortunately, I'd have to do some journeying to find my real starter Pokemon, so I skipped through Route 201 and Route 202 and enter the Grand Jubilife City. And just north of the city was Route 204, where I'd run into my first Pokemon suitable for my team, Budew. Now, Budew is an interesting one because she's actually introduced in this generation as the baby form of Roselia, who was introduced in Gen 3. And that alone isn't enough to qualify her for this run. But luckily for us, Roselia is also given a new final evolution in this game, Roserade, which will technically qualify Budew for the challenge. Anyways, I catch her, named her Rose, and started training. Now before I made my way out the city, I gave Barry his own town map at the trainer school, and got myself a Poketch from the promoter guy off the street, which you see here on the right side of the screen, and then finally ventured on to Route 203. But I didn't make it very far until Barry challenged me to a battle once again. Just this time, I had a legit team member to fight with. He sent out Starly to match against Rose, and immediately, I hit him with a Stun Spore to paralyze. From there, I spammed Growth a few times, bulking up my special attack, and then hit him with a few absorbs, healing back my health and taking down his Starly. And against his Turtwig, I'd stick to the same strategy, spamming Growth a bit more, then attack with Absorb. Although it wasn't very effective, I did just enough damage to take him out in 4 turns, claiming my first official win against Barry. After giving out some belt, I strolled my way to the route, killing trainers, dreams, and Pokemon, getting me up to level 13. I then arrived at Orberg City, and you already know it's gym time. Now I did take a little detour to the mines, which may have overleveled Budew just a bit, but hey, happens, you feel me? So I go straight to Rourke, the gym leader, and take him head on. We go Geodude versus Rose, and in the first turn I knock him out with a single Mega Drain. His next Pokemon was Onix, who'd meet the exact same fate as the last, getting one shot as well. But his final Pokemon would be a problem, Cranidos. He used Pursuit in the first turn, getting a critical hit, almost one-shotting me, but Mega Drain got my health back up and put him past half. On the next turn, we both chose to heal up with a potion, and then he follows it up with a headbutt that nearly kills me once again. But I managed to get off a Stun Spore to paralyze. So on the following turn, I Super Potion, then he hits me once again, taking half of my health. I follow that up with a Mega Drain that puts him in red, and then it's over for Cranidos, as he's paralyzed and can't move, and gets finished off with a final Mega Drain, giving me the win and claiming my first gym badge. After beating my first gym challenge, I made my way to the big city where I ran into some new villains, Team Galactic. Of course, they're no match for Budew and I scare him off with ease. I then travel north up Route 204, but unfortunately I would need to bend some rules in order to progress through the game. Since I need to use HM Rock Smash to continue through the route and Budew can't learn that, I had to catch a Budew for HM purposes only. Obviously, I won't be able to use him for battle. That aside, I made my way to Floraroma Town. Upon doing some investigation, I found out that Team Galactic was up to some shady shit, so of course I needed to put that to an end. I broke my way into the Windworks just east of the town and confronted them head on. Now mind you, at this point, the only Pokemon I have is Budew, so taking down their commander was not going to be easy. In fact, it felt nearly impossible. We faced off and I tried using an X-Defend thinking it would save me, and it did not. Of course, I used my paralyzing growth strategy to bulk up on special attack, which somehow took down the 4 times resistant Zubat, but going up against that fat ugly cat was the real problem. I tried my best to heal up, but she just knocked me down, back to back, and then finally finishing me off with a feint attack. Damn. but I re-challenged her with a new strategy, having taught Bidoof Flash and got to work. My new plan was to set up with Flash, lowering their accuracy, and then use the Stun Spore and Growth combo. I ended up taking a lot less damage than before, which put me in a better position to deal with the Perugly. Immediately, I heal up with a potion, and she uses a Calm Fake Out, but her scratch on the next turn nearly kills me once again. But I hang in there and use Flash, lowering her accuracy. Of course, I healed up with a Super Potion, and I was lucky that her feint attack did barely any damage. And from there, I used Flash, then healed, and then used Stun Spore to paralyze. And since I was already bulked up on growths from the last round, just one Mega Drain would bring her down to critical condition, and the next one taking her out for good. It was a really hard fought win, but I made it through, and this new strategy would definitely come in handy for the future. After defeating Team Galactic, I dipped and dodged my way through Route 205, trying to avoid battling since Rose was already such a high level. Then I partnered up with some random woman and snuck my way through Eterna Forest and arrived in Eterna City, where I was so graciously welcomed by the Team Galactic psychopath dictator. Nice. That aside, it was time to challenge the second gym, and as you can see, I still only have a Bidoof, who has yet to evolve. You'd think she'd have a high enough friendship level by now, but you'd be f***ing wrong, I guess. Anyways, I enter the gym and get to taking down these gym trainers, and it's especially difficult since they're all grass type Pokemon, so my one and only grass type attack does barely anything. And yes, I'm over leveled, but by the grace of God, just as I defeat the last gym trainer, Bidoof starts evolving into Roselia, and although she missed all of her good level up moves, I'll take what I can get. I then challenge the second gym leader, Gardenia. We face off going Turtwig versus Rose, and I get straight to my usual tactics. First, hit him with a Stun Spore, then a Flash, and lastly start spamming Growth until my special attack was maxed out. And when it had reached its max, just one Mega Drain was enough to take down Turtwig. Her next Pokemon was Cherim, who I'd take down in just 2 turns with Mega Drain, and her final Pokemon was Roserade, the better version of my Roselia. At first, I used Flash, then took a few Poison Stings, but eventually landed a Stun Spore that would paralyze her. And once paralyzed, I spammed Flash some more until her accuracy was damn near nothing, and then finally spammed Mega Drain, slowly taking her down to red health. And of course, she'd use a Super Potion, but she couldn't stop the inevitable. A half a dozen more Mega Drains and she was out for the count, granting me my second gym badge, the Forest Badge. After my win at the second gym, I gained access to the Eterna building that Team Galactic took control of, and get to battling. While their grunts were pretty pathetic, it's Commander Jupiter who I was afraid of. We start our battle going Zubat versus Rose, and I kick things off with a Stun Spore to paralyze. I followed that up by spamming Growth until near max, then hit her with a Mega Drain to bring her below half. And the following Mega Drain puts her down for good. Next is her Skuntank, who does quite a bit of damage. I managed to get off a Growth and a Flash before being brought to low health by a Night Slash. So I healed up on the following turn, then paralyzed her with Stun Spore. One more Growth put me at maximum special attack, so I hit her with a Mega Drain to do massive damage. And although she healed with a berry, the follow-up Mega Drain put her down as well, claiming my victory against another one of Team Galactic's commanders. And after taking down Team Galactic for the second time now, we're finally awarded with another Pokemon for our team. Cynthia hands me over an egg as thanks for saving the day, which would eventually hatch into Togepi. Now Togepi and Togetic are both Gen 2 Pokemon, but thanks to the 4th generation games, we now have the final evolution, Togekiss, which makes Togepi a perfect valid member for the run. I hatch him, name him Cloud, and continue on my journey. The next destination was Route 206, and now that I had access to a bike and HM Cut, I could head over and under Cycling Road. Now these patches of grass contained a Pokemon that would be a great addition to my team, Gligar. Gligar is a Pokemon that was introduced in Gen 2 as well, but just like Togepi, was gifted a second evolution in the Sinnoh games, making it valid and perfect for our team. So I catch him, named him Nightwing, and skipped my way towards Mount Coronet. On my way there, I ran into Dawn, who'd give me a handy old dowsing machine, and then a little later ran into the sadist himself, Cyrus, once again. So I decided to get the f*** up out of there, and I ran all the way to Hearthome City. Now I realized I had overlooked something great while I was trotting through Route 208 on my way to the city. There just so happens to be a rare and special Pokemon that spawns in the tall grass, which gained an extra final evolution in Gen 4. Yes, extra meaning they have 2 final evolutions. Now before I managed to find that Pokemon, my Togepi happened to evolve into Togetic during some wild encounters. Yes, the training was working. But I finally found him, Ralts. Now Ralts was introduced in Gen 3, evolving into Kirlia and then Gardevoir, meaning it already had a full evolution line. But as we know, Gen 4 introduced the alternative to Gardevoir, Gallade. giving it a fighting typing and cool new stats as long as your Ralts was a male and you had a Dawnstone, which meant as long as I evolved this Ralts into Gallade, he fit the run's criteria. So I caught him and named him Lance. Now that my team was finally starting to fill up, I was ready to take on the third gym and no longer had to rely on Roselia anymore. Instead, I found a new crutch, Gligar. Using Feint Attack, he pretty much soloed all of the gym trainers, which led to a timely evolution from Ralts turning into Kirlia. And after some more battles and puzzles, I made it face to face with the gym leader, Fantina. We started our battle going Duskull versus Nightwing, and just 2 Feint Attacks took her down with ease. Her second Pokemon was Miss Magius, so I sent out Cloud. I used Dion, tanking a few side beams but eventually putting her to sleep. I then hit her with a Sweet Kiss which caused confusion, then switched back into Nightwing, and while her Pokemon was still asleep, just 1 Feint Attack would bring her down with a critical hit. Her final Pokemon was Haunter, who'd almost get one-shot by a Feint Attack, but survived, and confused me with Confuse Ray. On the next turn, she'd use a Super Potion as I'd hit myself, and she'd follow up with a Sucker Punch while I was still confused. And when I finally snap out of confusion and hit her with a Feint Attack, she puts me to sleep with Hypnosis, and then starts spamming attacks until I was brought to half health. But her efforts were wasted, as Gligar would eventually wake up, taking her down with a single Feint Attack, giving me the win, and granting me my third gym badge, the Relic Badge. After defeating the gym and making my way out the city, I'm attacked by Barry once again for another rival battle. But it was an easy win with my new team to say the least. Next, I traveled through Route 209 and arrived in Solaceon Town. Unfortunately, there's no gem here, but I did do a little exploring at the Solaceon ruins, then continued up north through Route 210, and I was quite hurt to find out that the next town was quite a ways away, having to battle countless trainers route after route, passing through 215 and finally arriving at Veilstone City. And after such a long journey, it was only right I treated myself to a 4th gym badge. So first things first, I walked into the Veilstone gym and got to fighting. Now clearly this was the fighting type gym, which meant Lance had a chance to get his reps in, taking quite a few Pokemon down with confusion. He led me all the way to the gym leader, Maylene. We started off our battle going Meta-type versus Kirlia, which prompted me to switch into Nightwing straight away. I hit her with a Feint Attack, but she responds with a Rock Tomb that did quite some damage and lowered my speed. But just 2 more Feint Attacks were enough to take her down, leaving me at half health. Her second Pokemon was Machoke, and he absolutely rocked my shit, I won't lie. I luckily got off a Sand Attack before dying to Strength, which led me to sending back out Kirlia. Yes, he gets me with a really strong Strength Attack, taking me low, but Kirlia retaliates with a one-shot Confusion, taking him down. And her final Pokemon was Lucario, a real problem. I decided to send in Cloud to use Yawn, but get hit, taking me down to half health. And then I healed a stall a bit, putting Lucario to sleep. The plan from here was to confuse it with Sweet Kiss, but I couldn't land it before he'd wake up and obliterate my Togetic. So I sent in Rose next to try to use Stun Spore, but for some reason I still couldn't land any of them. So I healed up and tried to use Flash instead, lowering his accuracy as much as possible. Again, he brought me down to low health, so I re-healed and kept trying for a Stun Spore until I finally landed one, paralyzing the Lucario. And then I started attacking with Mega Drain, healing back up some health. I followed that up with the Growth to power up and hit him with another Mega Drain while Lucario remained immobilized. And while I finally got the basket to low health, yes, he kills me. But I sent in Kirlia to finish the job. Just 1 confusion takes him down, and I received my 4th gym badge, the Cobble Badge. And that was definitely a close one. After taking down the gym, I teamed up with Dawn to solve some Team Galactic issues. We give him a little ass whooping, and then investigate the hidden entrance to their base with this wannabe detective. Although it led to nothing as of yet, I found the HM Fly, which made traveling a whole lot easier. The next step on my journey was to head down Route 214, and I was on the hunt for something special, a Razor Fang. This would help evolve my Gligar, but I'd have to wait until nighttime to do it. So in the meanwhile, I kept heading west towards Route 213, doing a little battling, then arriving at Pastoria City. Here there was a gym, but I made a quick stop by the nearby route to pick up a Dawnstone from the swamp, which meant Lancey Boy here was about to get a serious upgrade. I give him the Dawnstone and watch him transform into a mighty Gallade. This would be my first final evolution of the run, completing just one piece of the puzzle of Gen 4's new evolution Pokemon. Alongside evolving, Lance also got an upgrade on moves, so the future was looking pretty bright here. Now before getting a chance to challenge the gym, I need to run a few more errands. Firstly, I need to take on Barry in another rival battle. He starts off sending out Staravia versus my Roselia, so I switch Cloud into battle and use Yawn to get him drowsy, while he sets up with a double team. But eventually he falls asleep, giving me an opening to get off 2 ancient powers, knocking his Staravia down. His second Pokemon was Ponyta, who'd meet the exact same fate, getting taken down by 2 ancient powers as well. His third Pokemon was a Grotto, who'd get hit with a fly to do some decent damage, then put to sleep with Yawn, and you already know it's barbecue chicken from there. I get off a fly attack that does critical damage, and he's out as well. His final Pokemon was Buizel, but he's no match for Rose, as she most literally sucks him dry. And boom, victory. After that win, I did some more move relearning and then waited for nighttime to evolve Gligar into Gliscor, which would make him my second Gen 4 final evolution Pokemon. And with these new upgrades, now it was time to challenge the gym. So I walked my way in and got to battling. I took on every trainer possible, sifted through annoying puzzles, and finally made it to the leader, Crasher Wake. Now here's where things got real rough, and to keep things brief, he swept my whole team. His one and only Gyarados completely destroyed my whole squad, back to back, and there was nothing I could do about it. And I know the loss was bad, but it wasn't a team issue, it was a me issue. So I readjusted my game plan and headed right back into battle. In the first round, we go Gyarados versus Togetic just like before, but I actually land a Yawn this time, which starts the countdown on him falling asleep. On the following turn, I heal up with a Super Potion and wait out his slumber. And from there, I just spam as much ancient powers as possible, bringing him to low health. And of course, he uses a Hyper Potion to heal, but I was in luck that Gyarados remained asleep for me to get off 2 more ancient powers before he'd wake up and I'd run out of PP. But I had this brilliant idea of using Fly, which avoids his attack and takes him out for good. His second Pokemon was Floatzel, so I kept Cloud in to put him to sleep with Yawn, then sent out Rose to replace him. Floatzel ends up doing quite a bit of damage with Crunch, but he then falls asleep. And from there, 1 growth and a Giga Drain is enough to take him down as well. He sent out Quagsire next, but his 4 times weakness to grass wasn't going to help him at all, getting taken down with a single Giga Drain as well, marking my win and earning me my 5th gym badge. Next, I had a little run-in with a Team Galactic member. I chased him through some towns, hawked him down, and gave him a good ass whooping. But he runs off, and in comes Cynthia, handing me a key to accessing Route 10. So that's what I do. I shoo away some Psyduck at the route, and continue my journey to Celestic Town with a package for her grandmother. And the fog in this area was pretty shitty. But I finally make it to the spot and find a Team Galactic member posted up outside an ancient ruin. So of course, I go to press him, then deliver that package to Cynthia's grandmother, and lastly, accept a tour of the ruin from her as thanks. But the tour was cut short when Cyrus, the Team Galactic leader, showed up to cause problems. He starts spewing propaganda, then challenges me to a battle. The first Pokemon he sends out is Sneasel, as I send in Nightwing, and since I was at a severe type disadvantage, I decided to switch Lance into battle. Sneasel ends up doing quite a bit of damage with Ice Punch, but 1 Drain Punch from Lance was enough to take him down. His second Pokemon was Golbat, who'd meet a quick fate as well, going down to a single Psycho Cut, but leaving me at low health. So I sent in Cloud next to match up against his Murkrow, who'd take him down in just 2 turns with Ancient Power, sealing the deal and giving me the win. After the easy dubs, I'm gifted the HM Surf and instructed to make my way to Canalave City. Now unfortunately, none of my current team members could learn Surf, but there was one Pokemon I had overlooked which would fit the criteria of my team, Lickitung. I found one on Route 215, and since it received a new final evolution in this generation, he makes the cut. I catch him, name him Tungus, and then make my way to the water route west of Jubilife City. I surfed through Route 218 and arrived at Canalave City, a truly beautiful place. And of course, Barry was waiting there patiently for yet another rival battle. This time, his Staravia had grown into a Staraptor going up against Lance, and that type advantage wasn't pretty, so I sent Cloud in to handle the business. I stuck to the usual tactic, using Yawn to get him to sleep, then following up with 2 ancient powers for the easy knockout. His third Pokemon was Rapidash, so I sent in Nightwing to take him out, and with 1 Dig Attack, he does just that. His third Pokemon was Floatzel, which I knew would be an easy win for Rose, so I send her out and use a Growth and Giga Drain combo, taking him down as well and restoring my health. His fourth Pokemon was a new one, Heracross, but it didn't matter as he'd go down from a single fly attack from Cloud, though leaving him at low health, which became a problem against his Torterra, who knocked him down in the first turn. But I still had lots of Pokemon, so I sent in Rose to paralyze him with Stun Spore and used Flash to lower his accuracy. Unfortunately, she'd be killed, but it was the perfect setup for Nightwing to come in and boost his attack with Swords Dance. While the Torterra remained immobilized, I hit him with a few feint attacks, taking him down for good, claiming my victory. And after the easy win, I took a ship ride to Iron Island to get a few more reps in before challenging the Canalave City gym. Here I'd be given the HM Strength by Riley, who'd later tag alongside me. We did some battling, took on Team Galactic, and when we were ready to part ways, he gifted me a Riolu egg. Such a kind gesture, but of course I can't use it. Before I made my exit, I picked up a shiny stone off the ground, which would be essential for evolving 2 of my current Pokemon. And looking at my team, neither Togetic nor Roselia would help against the upcoming gym. So I decided to give the stone to Roselia since she's an OG around here, and watched her evolve into Roserade. That marked 3 final evolutions now. Next, it was time to take on the Steel type gym. Due to his type advantage, I had Nightwing on my front lines against the gym trainers, taking them down with ease. I then challenged the gym leader, Byron. We start our battle going Magneton versus Nightwing, and you already know the strategy. I spam up some sword dances, while the Magneton uses Metal Sound, having no clue what's coming for him. And all it takes is one dig, one-shotting the Magneton. But it didn't stop there. Both his Steelix and Bastiodon would meet the exact same fate, getting absolutely swept by Nightwing. That gave me my 6th gym badge, the easiest one by far. And after defeating the 6th gym, I met up with the whole squad at the library, and come to find out, Team Galactic blew up Lake Valor. So I rushed my way over, Magikarp everywhere, and found the one responsible, Commander Saturn. We got straight to battling, going Golbat versus Lance. In the first turn, he hits me with an air cutter, doing decent damage, but I respond with a one-shot Psycho Cut, taking him out. I ended up switching into Nightwing to handle his Bronzor, and then tried using Feint Attack, but I did little damage. So from there, I Swords Danced for 2 turns while he tries to damage me with Shadow Ball and Rock Tombs, and finally finished him off with a Feint Attack. His 3rd Pokemon was Toxicroak, so I decided to send Lance back into battle, knowing I had a 4 times effectiveness with Psychic type moves. But he one-shots me with a Poison Jab, killing that dream. So my next idea was to send in Togetic, and he one-shots him as well. And as I'm editing this video, I'm wondering why the fuck didn't I just keep Nightwing in? So I do what I should have done long ago and took him out in 2 turns using Dig, ending that terrible fight. And although I won, it was too late. They had already kidnapped 1 of 3 legendary Pokemon, so I rushed to the next Great Lake back at the hometown, Lake Verity. Again, I fought my way through Galactic Grunts till I faced off against their leader, Commander Mars. And this battle was pretty much the same as the last. I took down her Golbat with Lance, then sent in Nightwing to bulk up and beat her Bronzor to scraps. And lastly, using Cloud, I put Perugly to sleep, then sent in Lance to kill her off with a Drain Punch. But once again, it was too late and they had already kidnapped another legendary. And now it was down to the last lake to try and protect, Lake Acuity. The only problem being, I've never been there before, and it's all the way north of the map, so I embarked on my journey through Mount Coronet and into the cold Route 216. And here lied opportunity. Lucky for me, I ran straight into my new team member, Sneasel, and he'd fit my team perfectly. A Dark and Ice type, which was introduced in Gen 2, but received a final evolution in Gen 4. Just what I needed. I caught him, named him Zabuza, if you know you know, and continued on my path. Now my path wasn't an easy one at all, as I found myself neck deep in snow, in the middle of a f***ing snowstorm. But finally, I made it to somewhere safe, Snow Point City. Now I know just seconds ago I was supposed to save some legendary Pokemon at the lake and yada yada, but all that shit could wait. I have a gym to challenge here, so screw them. I walk my way straight into that gym and get to battling, fighting my way through ice type trainers with Lance until I reached the gym leader, Candace. We kicked off our battle going Sneasel versus Lance, and instantly I got to Swords Dancing. Now the Sneasel did manage to get me down low with an aerial ace, but one Drain Punch took her down and brought my health back up. Now her second Pokemon was Frostlass, so I had to switch Lance out into Zabuza and use Feint Attack, which did super effective damage. From there I used Agility to ensure I'd attack first, and for some reason she just kept double teaming, so I spammed Feint Attack over and over again until she was taken down as well. The third Pokemon was Pillowswine, and for some reason I thought it was smart to send out Nightwing. I managed to get off a Swords Dance without getting hit and followed up with a Steel Wing, which almost one-shot her Pokemon, but she countered with an Avalanche that would completely obliterate my Gliscor. So my next choice was to use Zabuza once again, hoping she wouldn't heal, but she did, using a full restore to undo my progress. And from there, I decided to sacrifice Zabuza in order to heal Lance and sent him back into battle, and all it took was a single Drain Punch for the knockout. Her final Pokemon was Abomasnow, to which I set up with Swords Dance, taking a bit of damage, but returned it tenfold with Drain Punch that would one-shot for game. It was a hard-fought win, but I claimed my 7th gym badge. Now before I hit the lake, I did some backtracking to grab another shiny stone near Celestic Town, which would allow me to evolve my Togetic into Togekiss, completing my 4th final evolution of the run. This was a really well needed upgrade for the team, and it started to feel like everything was coming together nicely. Finally, I arrived at Lake Acuity, but I was late again. Barry had already gotten his ass beat, so I had to take the fight to them, back to their home base in Veilstone City. I ran through their facility and raided that bitch like a SWAT team, taking down every Galactic member I could find, except for these ones. I left them alone. But eventually, I made it to the top of the tower and went head to head with boss man himself, Cyrus. We jump into battle, Sneasel versus Lance, and immediately I get to swords dancing while he gets me good with ice punches. But I'd return the favor hard with Drain Punch, knocking him down and regaining my health. His next Pokemon was Crobat, and after suffering some damage from Air Cutter, I managed to one-shot him as well with Psycho Cut. And moving on to his Honchkrow, I used Drain Punch to get him down low, and another to finish him off for the win. Super light and easy. After taking down Cyrus, I was able to free the 3 legendary lake Pokemon, but that wouldn't be the last of Team Galactic at all. Their plans were still in motion. I received some word about world destruction happening at the top of Mount Coronet, so that's where I headed next. But not before I evolved Sneasel with a newly found Razor Claw, transforming him into Weavile, which would mark my 5th evo of the run. Anyways, I hiked up Mount Coronet, made it to the top of the mountain, and faced off against Team Galactic in their final stand. Luckily, Barry joined my side to take on Commander Mars and Jupiter together, and to keep things brief, we whooped them. We whooped them bad. But we were too late again. Cyrus started to do some weird witchery shit, and suddenly 2 legendary Pokemon, Dialga and Palkia, appeared. But an even more mysterious dark figure emerged from the ground and snatched Cyrus into literal Pokemon hell. So as any young child would do, I jump in with him. Now this part of the game was actually unbearable. It's cool and all to be able to walk on walls and shit, but this ain't Spider-Man. I was trying to stop Cyrus and get up on out of here. And after half an hour of being lost and possibly a YouTube tutorial later, I finally found Cyrus and battled him one last time for old time's sake. And this time was a lot different. We started the battle going Houndoom versus Cloud, and it was rough. He hits me with a flamethrower doing decent damage, but I respond with 2 ancient powers which put him in red. Of course, he deals a final flamethrower before healing up with a full restore, and from there I do a shockwave paired up with a yawn to make him sleepy. Next, I healed up with a full restore of my own, and he's off to sleep, so I deal a few more attacks to take him down. From there, I switch in Lance to go up against Weavile, but I unfortunately get hit with a fake out Ice Punch combo. Luckily, 1 Drain Punch in the face does the trick. His 3rd Pokemon was Honchkrow, so I put Cloud back into battle, using ancient power to put him down some health. But 1 Night Slash messed us up bad, so I send Zabuza in to get my revenge, and Icy Wing the fuck out of him. I do a strategic little move, sending Tungus in to full restore Cloud, obviously a sacrifice, and then send Cloud back in to deal some shockwave damage. And in 2 turns, we find ourselves both in red, and his bitch ass decides to full restore, so after attacking, I do the same. But it wasn't enough, and a waterfall smacks Cloud back to the gulag. So I send Zabuza back in with an Icy Wind, and watch as he takes away almost all my health with a Giga Impact. But I luck out, getting off 2 feint attacks while the Gyarados recharges. Thank God. His final Pokemon was Crobat, and of course I send Lance in to tank a little Air Slash and one-shot him with a Psycho Cut. And okay, he didn't one-shot and instead got annihilated. But Nightwing swooped in to save the day with a final Steel Wing, putting down that Crobat for good and securing us the W against Cyrus. The next animal that needed subduing was Garantina, so I gave him a good ass whooping with Nightwing and saved the world, and all of reality really, from complete devastation. And I guess there's no reward for being a hero, as Cynthia just sends me back on my way to collect badges. So I start that journey to that next gym. Now, on my way to the final gym, a few things happened. First, I evolved Tungus somewhere on Route 222, getting that out the way. And second, I wound up finding a Magneton in the tall grass. Now this is a Gen 1 Pokemon who got a real big upgrade in this generation, so he fit the team. I caught him and named him Magnetron. And lastly, I traveled back to Mount Coronet and evolved my Magneton into Magnezone, securing my final team for the run. And of course, Tungus was demoted to the PC. And taking a look at my team, I felt I was ready for that 8th gym badge. So I walked my way into that Sunny Shore gym and got to battling. And since it was an electric type gym, Gliscor's new Earthquake move was coming in handy. I then took on the final gym leader, Volkman, and you already know the strat. set up with a few swords dances, and fuck him up with Earthquake. I kill off both Jolteon and Luxray with a single hit, and onto his last Pokemon, Electivire, I send in Rose as a sacrifice to paralyze him with Stun Spore, since Electivire would outspeed, and back in comes Nightwing to finish him off with Earthquake. This gave me my final gym challenge win, and the 8th gym badge, the Beacon badge. After my victory at the last gym, I headed straight for Victory Road and bumped into Barry along the way, alongside a lady who would hand me their Waterfall HM, which meant Ancient Boy was gonna have to make a return, since unfortunately there's no Gen 4 Evo Pokemon that can learn Waterfall. So I entered Victory Road, and I'm thankful it was pretty easy to get through. I feel like the only problem here was that there wasn't enough trainers and chances to gain experience, since the level gap in Elite 4 would be pretty drastic. Anyways, I made it to the Pokemon League, a calm little spot, and just before challenging the Elite 4, I bumped into Barry for the last time. He challenges us to our final rival battle, the ultimate showdown, Staraptor vs Cloud. I lied, Staraptor vs Magnetron, and he got beat up pretty badly. So I sent out Zabuza to avenge him, using Night Slash to get him low. But of course, close combat seals the deal on that. So my next option, of course, Nightwing, finally takes down Staraptor with an aerial ace after he slaughtered 2 of my Pokemon already. His second Pokemon was Floatzel, who'd hit me extra hard with Crunch while I Swords Dance, leading me to heal up on the next turn. But when I got my chance, one Leaf Blade to the face took him out the game. His third Pokemon was Rapidash, so of course I sent out Nightwing to hit the dance floor, then shook it up with Earthquake, taking Rapidash down as well. His next Pokemon was his starter, Torterra, who'd take a hard hit from my aerial ace but would one-shot me with Leaf Storm in return. Damn. But Cloud came in on cleanup, killing him off with an Air Slash despite his attempt at healing. He'd send out Heracross next, but you already know that 4 times damage from Air Slash hit like a bullet. And onto his final Pokemon Snorlax, he got put to sleep by Cloud, then finished off by Lance, giving him a couple drain punches to the face, securing my win for the last time. After defeating Barry, I walked my way through those doors and made an attempt at beating the Elite Four. And if I'm being fully transparent here, this was a humbling experience. And you guys been very honest with me in the comments about how bad I am at Pokemon, and it was really starting to show with these awfully crafted movesets. But to cut me some slack, Pokémon Platinum is supposed to have like the hardest Elite Four, so I wasn't even too hurt when I lost to the final member. I just decided to gain a few more levels, change some moves, and try again. So I started off my second attempt going up against the first Elite Four member, Aaron. We matched up Cloud vs Yanmega, and 2 flamethrowers. Yes, flamethrowers take him down. His second Pokemon was Drapion, and I of course sent Nightwing in to thankfully tank an Ice Fang and deal nearly fatal damage with Earthquake. But unfortunately, Drapion would attack first, knocking us out, but not to worry as Cloud would come in and save the day with a flamethrower. His third Pokemon was Vespiquen, and I nearly took her down with 1 hit, but the luck followed through and gave her a fatal burn. And his fourth Pokemon, Heracross, would meet the exact same fate that it usually does, getting one shot by an Air Slash. And finally, his last Pokemon, Scizor, would be burnt to a crisp with a flamethrower, pretty much sweeping that team entirely with Cloud. I then faced off against the second Elite Four member, Bertha, and her first Pokemon was Wishcash vs Rose, and 1 Giga Drain surely did the trick, taking her down. Her second Pokemon was Gliscor, so I sent Zabuza in to tank an Earthquake, then return the favor with Avalanche, taking it down as well. Her third Pokemon was a Golem, and of course, Rose came back into battle to one-shot with Giga Drain, and following that, her Rhyperior, who would meet the exact same fate. She was down to her last Pokemon, Hippowdon, who would survive the first Giga Drain, but would die to a follow-up one, marking my easy win against her. Next, I took on Flint, the third Elite Four member. We match up Houndoom vs Nightwing, and I get to Swords Dancing, then immediately annihilate his Houndoom with an Earthquake. That went twice for his Magmortar, who died in one shot as well. His Infernape did try to put up a fight, but it wasn't enough at all, and I think you get the rest. Both Rapidash and Flareon got the belt, just like the rest of his team, completely sweeping through with Nightwing alone. And finally, I challenge Lucian, or Lucian, however you say it. We end up going Mr. Mime versus Zabuza, and I used Night Slash to one-shot in the first turn. His second Pokemon was Gallade, who would be a much stronger opponent, just barely tanking a Shadow Claw and eviscerating me with Stone Edge right after. I then sent in Cloud and used Yawn, for whatever reason, when I could have just one-shotted with an Air Slash. But eventually, he falls asleep and dies to a Fly Attack. His third Pokemon was Alakazam, and I knew I'd need Zabuza for this one, so I sacrificed Cloud and revive him. I then sent out Magnetron as an unnecessary sacrifice, and lastly, sent Zabuza back into battle. And guess what? His bitch died in the first turn. So my next option was to send in Lance, and I sword danced while he nearly kills me with Psychic. So on the following turn, I heal up, for no reason clearly, since he has the speed advantage, and I get killed off in 2 turns with a final energy ball. I was doing terrible, and quickly running out of options. So I sent in Nightwing and just hoped that Earthquake would be enough, and luckily for me, it was, taking down Alakazam while sustaining some serious damage. His final Pokemon was Espeon, and I just prayed I'd get to attack first, and that was not the case, getting one shot by a Shadow Ball. So I sent in Rose next as a sacrifice for Zabuza once again, just praying he'd be useful this time. So back out comes Zabuza, and I test the waters by using a Hyper Potion, and in response I nearly get one shot again by a Signal Beam. My defense is actually so terrible, but I managed to attack first on the next turn with Night Slash for the one-hit KO. His final Pokemon was Bronzong, and I knew I was at a type disadvantage, so I had to sacrifice Zabuza to revive Cloud, and Cloud came in clutch, taking him down in 2 turns with a Flamethrower, saving me from another terrible loss. After defeating the Elite Four, barely, I wasn't very confident going up against Cynthia, and I was right to be scared, because she completely whooped my ass on the first attempt, like really badly. But of course, I ran it back, tried again with a little change in plan, and it wasn't much better. We started off going Spiritomb versus Nightwing, and immediately I went to my Swords Dance Earthquake combo, taking him down while being left at half health. Her second Pokemon was Milotic, to which I sent out Rose. I'd end up tanking an Ice Beam, hoping Giga Drain would be the saving grace, and I was wrong, getting knocked out by a second one. So I sent Magnetron to see what he could do, and of course, she switches into Garchomp for the mismatch, and absolutely crushes him. So my next choice was to bring Zabuza into battle. I tried for an Avalanche, hoping I'd get the speed advantage, wrong again. Got obliterated. So I tried for Lance, and well, she took care of him too. So I sent Nightwing back in, healed him up, then started my Swords Dance setup once again. Luckily, Garchomp kept missing his Dragon Rushes, so I got off quite a few, healed, and then followed up with a nearly fatal Aerial Ace. But again, that did not matter, as she took me down with a Giga Impact, full restored, then proceeded to slaughter my Togekiss right in front of me. Damn. So yeah, at this point, playing as a team wasn't working at all. These movesets just weren't meshing together, the Pokemon weren't Pokemoning, so I needed to play a different brand of basketball here, the Jordan Kobe-esque brand. So I started off my battle with Cloud, using Yawn to make her Spiritomb drowsy, and finally send out Nightwing when we were taken out. And from here, I just spammed Swords Dance as much as I could, and f***ing swept her whole team. Spiritomb got bodied, Milotic body. Togekiss managed to survive a hit, but right after that, body. Now it got a little tricky with Garchomp. I had to do a little bit of healing cheese in between, recovering from some burns and other attacks. But yes, eventually, she too got bodied. Roserade most definitely got bodied. And lastly, Lucario. Oh, how I couldn't wait to fuck him up with Earthquake. Bodied. Full team sweep with just one Pokemon only, Gliscor. And finally, after literal weeks of grinding, I've become the Pokemon champion of Sinnoh, with a team made entirely of newly introduced Gen 4 evolutions, and I will say, Gliscor was the clear MVP of this run. He carried me through gyms, the Elite Four, and most importantly, against Cynthia. So was this really the right way to play Pokémon Platinum? Kind of. Pokemon like Gliscor, Togekiss, and Gallade feel like must picks, but running a full team of Gen 4 Evos? Definitely a bit much. Still, it was a blast, and if you want to try it for yourself, let me know which of the 20 new evolutions you'd put on your squad. Also, the stats say there's a 99.7% chance you're not subscribed, and if you've made it this far, you might as well fix that. And be sure to check out some of my other fun Pokemon challenges, which should be somewhere on the screen right about now. Until next time.